Payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH.
Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland. For some reason, my mouse has quit and I can't play my song.
Well, just sing it, Ron.
Okay. I'll do that some other time. Well, good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Good morning, Debbie Moore.
Good morning. And I will tell everybody that you worked extensively on that mouse this morning so that it would work. And so maybe they'll decide it's going to work. It just works when it wants to. Ron and I had today's show is going to be about Templeton Hill School, and we're going to have a lot of different guests in. So if you know someone that went to Templeton Hill, make sure that you call and tell them to tune in this morning, or join us on the internet at www.woopfm.com, and they can see us and hear us live on the internet there or on the phone app.
And would like to say welcome to our new sponsor here on Old Town Cleveland, Companion Funeral Home and Cremation Services. I'll get that right. Not a crematory, it's Companion Funeral Home
and Cremation Services.
And that's at 2417 Georgetown Road Northwest. Do your pre-planning. Call 473-2620. Very efficient, very affordable funeral services. I highly recommend it. My mother services about 2 weeks there, and
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
So that was just a great compound. And some of you in town may know the Cody family who owns that. And a lot of you may know old Max Shelton.
Miss him.
Yeah, Max's daughter, Shelley, is one of the owners of Companion there. So go out and see them and thank them as being a sponsor. Tell us who you got with us over there.
Hey, we've got Ron Rogers and Don Guerin with us at the moment, and they're going to be talking about Templeton Hill. I want to tell everybody a little bit something else before we get started here, so I won't be interrupting in the middle. Ron and I decided to take a little trip this week down to Plains, Georgia. You can't get there from here. Let me start off by saying that.
It's even harder to get back.
It's harder to get back, especially when I want to go to Alabama on the way back home. Ron and I went down to Plains, and it's a very nice national park. They have it in the old Carter's Plains High School, and his Nobel Peace Prize is there. Very well done, great video. All of that. You can go to his national headquarters, campaign headquarters from 1976 too. It is in the the Plains Depot. That site was selected because it was the only place available in Plains that had indoor plumbing, which I found humorous. But we asked the little ranger, we wanted to see Jimmy Carter's childhood farm home, and it's not too far from downtown Plains. And she said, well, our big brown sign got knocked down by a tractor 4 months ago, and we're waiting for the Department of Transportation to come and put the sign back up. And we said, well, we understand that. I said, well, how do we find it? And she said, well, just go down the road out of town. You will pass the old folks' home and a cornfield. And when you get to the end of the cornfield, you'll see a pecan tree. Turn left. I thought that was so funny, and I wish I'd had that on video. Her in her little uniform with her badge on, so, politely explaining to me to go turn left at the pecan tree. And sure enough, we passed the old folks' home. There's the cornfield on the left, pecan tree on the right, took a left turn, and we found it, and it was very interesting, too. Now, I'll stop digressing. So, guys, I understand that you have a reunion coming up for the Templeton Hill students. I don't know. There might still be a faculty member or two still alive. I don't know. But somebody tell us, when will that be? Don, tell me, when's the reunion going to be?
It's going to be September the 26th, and the time we're going to start it at 11 and just go to 2.
11 to 2.
11 to 2. And we're going to have refreshments. I'm hoping to get seating, a tent set up and seating for everyone. But we'll be at the old school grounds on the back of what used to be the old gym and cafeteria. I'm hunting a shady spot for us old people.
Well, I know how that goes, and we're all used to air conditioning now. Got me down to South Georgia this week, and I looked at everything from the car seat because I think I am not getting out in that sun. So, will you guys? That's really nice because you'll have access to like the fire hall for folks to go in and to go to the restroom and stuff and all that. Now, how do people sign up to come, or are you just going to say, "Hey, y'all, come on over"?
You just show up if you want to. We're going to have plenty of parking because the Human Services will not be operating on that Saturday, and the church next door. I've talked to them, and we'll have plenty of parking and
easy access. It sounds like
one of the things we want everyone to do. If you have any kind of pictures or memorabilia about the school, please bring it. I'm going to have a copy machine set up, and we will copy some of the old pictures because. There's just not that much around, and
that's true. I looked and I can't find many pictures.
One of the things we have learned, the school opened in 1924. A lot of our parents, including mine, went to school there. My mother went there and had the same fourth grade teacher I did, and it was kind of the nucleus of the community, you might say, right, Ron?
Right.
Don, what area? I know. You grew up in that community, but where did your family live when you were going to Templeton Hill?
Diagonally across the street.
Oh, you were close. You got to go home for lunch, I guess.
Well, no, you couldn't leave the grounds.
Oh, okay.
But the janitor lived on the corner, which is Charles Kaler and his wife.
Okay.
And his grandson lived with him, which was Kenny Ledford, who just passed away a couple of years ago. And Kenny's was a good friend. And anyhow, when we just lived diagonally right across the street, we were so close when they built, when that gym, we were playing on the basketball team, and Mr. Henley, who is still alive, and we're going to have him down at the reunion.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's been on our show before, yes.
He had the key he let me have to where I could unlock the gym at 7 a.m. for us to practice. And it paid off because we won both the city and the county championship that year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Up on the screen, for you looking on the internet, you said 24. That's the class of 1925.
It's a little pixeled. We're going to have to find a better copy of that.
Real small copy, and I tried to blow it up as much as I could. I've got another program I'll work on, but
we really need pictures. We have probably 3 class pictures, and 1 picture of the outside of the building is all that I have found. And I know that lots of folks have photographs. They just haven't brought them out from under the bed, but they will for this reunion to bring a scrapbook, your pictures, anything you might have like that, any program from a graduation, any of that kind of stuff. We need to copy and share, especially with the history branch.
Right, basketball games, just playing on the playground, anything going on,
I actually have family pictures that has the building in the background. I lived on the corner of Church Street, right there on the eastern side of the intersection there at Church Street. My family lived there in 1956, and so Stevenson. And so when we would stand out in the yard to get pictures made, the big tall buildings were in the background. And my sister went to Templeton Hill. I looked up on the internet a little bit about Templeton Hill, and there's not a whole lot on there. But I found Dee Frisbee's obituary, and Dee was the teacher at Arnold and Mayfield, and later on he was principal, probably in the latter part, while Templeton Hill was still open, was principal at Templeton Hill and then Cleveland Junior High School. And he died in 2012. And also I would like to mention he was a World War II veteran.
Yeah, and for the people who don't remember Templeton Hill School or are new to the area, if you know where the main fire hall is, that's basically where the Templeton Hill School big building sit. Now, the additions to it are still out there, aren't they? Like
there's one addition, which was the gymnasium on the top level, and the cafeteria was on the bottom level, and it's now been made into offices for the Department of Human Services.
Right. But there's some of that building, but the original building from 25 is completely gone.
And it was on a huge hill.
Right.
And now they put all that dirt in the lower level.
It would be closer down to where the firemen sleep, not where the truck bays are, but up on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bigger hill, and it set up on a stately looking 2-story building.
Well, go ahead.
One interesting fact about Tempton Hill, it was actually built at I don't know the exact time, but it was built with the same set of plans that built College Hill.
Oh,
School
okay. I didn't know that.
time. And it was closed from all classes in 1991.
91. That's why that was my next question. When did it close? And I didn't realize it had lasted that long.
71.
I'm sorry, yes.
71.
Can't
Okay.
even read my own notes. 71.
Yeah. That sounds
And then did they build the fire department shortly after that, or how long before it built the fire department down there?
The school set for a couple of years, and then Tommy Barrett, who was supposed to be here today, didn't make it.
We'll talk bad about him then.
Yeah. they vandalized it, and then it got burnt down.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. And that's a shame because, it would have been a great thing. We had lots of trophies. We were pretty much the nucleus of sports in this city at that time. I mean, seriously, because we just basically every year or two we were winning the championship.
I graduated in 51. We won football and basketball.
Yeah.
Now, I have nothing against our current museum, but wouldn't that have been a great museum for the city of Cleveland, that old Tempton Hill School building?
Oh, yeah.
Would that not have been gorgeous?
Well, it's nice that we still have Arnold,
Yes.
which would have been built about that same time, 90 years ago, and we have that entire facilities, and it's being used, which is what keeps them going. And then we have what's left of Allen School and what's left of Templeton Hill School, and I don't know of any other
So
buildings. Mayfield School.
Who was the principal when you was there?
When I was there, the principal was Bill Schultz. Mr. Bill Schultz.
Charles
Mr.
Cocker
Schultz.
was when Ron was there.
Okay, that's another
and,
name.
and there was another guy before him, I think was named White. Principal White. And then,
So who was your teachers?
well, what grade? I know them all.
Well, start with the beginning.
People like to hear their families' names. I mean, who were some of the teachers in?
First grade teacher was Miss Goodner.
Mm-hmm.
Second grade was Miss Lee. Third grade was Miss Plank. Fourth grade was Miss Young. Fifth grade was Miss Ramsey. Sixth grade was Mr. Henley. Seventh grade was Miss Michael Ralph. And the eighth grade was Miss Bounds. Ron?
Goodness gracious.
My teachers were first grade Mrs. Dick Kerr, second grade Ms. Luella Dooley, third grade Ms. Plank, and fourth grade was Mrs. Dorothy Lacey Young.
Yeah.
Fifth grade Ms. Ramsey. Sixth grade was a lady, Mrs. Durbin. Her husband was a preacher here at Cumberland Presbyterian. She for a while, and then Mr. Cockers was Mrs. Cocker was the seventh grade. Miss Bounds was the eighth grade.
Now, was that Miss Bounds that you eventually went to?
Joe Bounds?
Joe Bounds.
Went to Bradley High School?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, she was a historian, wasn't she?
Now, Joe was the daughter.
No. Oh, okay.
Joe's the daughter.
we're
Okay.
with you.
Yeah.
Move a little closer to that mic there.
Okay.
Yeah, there
Now,
you
let
go.
me ask you about Lou Dooley. Was that
Miss Luella Dooley. She lived over on Walker Street.
okay? So that was not. Help me, Ron.
Dooley Drugstore or Dooley Ice Cream?
No.
It's not neither one of those families.
Yeah.
Or Miss Dooley. That was.
Not Warney Fennell's Dooley.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
But we did have one
But her
lady
mom's
that
name was Lou.
fill-in teacher or maybe taught where they had two grades of the same year there, and her name was Miss Blocker. Lived over here on Benton Pike, a huge house. I remember her.
Now, what was Tempton Hill's mascot? I mean, like the Bradley's the Bears. What were they?
Hilltoppers and
Hilltoppers.
The Hilltoppers. Okay.
and the football team one year was the Mule Train.
Mule Train. That was the year we was eighth grade.
A mule train.
We won the city championship then in basketball and football both.
John, Ron, a little personal information there for you is up there in that gym. One of the first things they ever had for the community was your dad and Sweet William Moore and all performed there up on the stage there. The gym was the stage auditorium also, you know.
Well, that'd been a few years ago now.
Yeah.
That was
Quite a few.
Sweet William and the Rhythm Rangers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They played on WBAC every morning, too. Yeah.
Your dad did a comic routine,
Yeah.
Cousin Elmo.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a
We
picture
have a
of him.
picture of him. We showed it to our children when they were little and said, "This is your grandpa," and they said,
Well, I remember going as a kid, and they packed the house.
That was you can't. Music shows don't do good in Bradley County anymore. You know that music
Well,
shows just don't book out anymore.
I
like
think
they
that
used
there
to.
was less competition for the.
Well, there was no
And then,
television or
you know.
video games and
So
not
was
everybody
that
had a
what-
car every day either. Did
was
you?
that like for the grand opening of the gym, or just something that happened fairly close to when the gym opened?
No, that was not the grand opening.
Well,
I
I mean, you
actually
know.
thought the gym was opened up my 8th grade year, which was 1953, which, thinking back, that's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Henley said it was there when he got there in 49.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was built in 49.
Little tale on Mr. Henley now, because he pulled both my kids aside when they hit Cleveland High. That's when he was principal at Cleveland High, and had to tell them about I broke him in. And I said, what do you mean? Well, his first day of teaching down there, he lined us all up outside. They had a big old tall and steps coming down.
Yeah.
Told us his name was Thomas Clancy Henley, and he'd be our teacher, and that we're going to have, just this customary speech, so to speak. And then as he walked down the line, I kind of grabbed his shoulder, and I said, he also said, don't call me Clancy, call me Mr. Henley. So I kind of grabbed him, and I said, Clancy, me and you going to have a ball this year. And he yanked me out of line and whipped me there on the spot. Yeah.
Well, you tested
So,
the waters. Didn't you?
Who were some of the kids you went to school with while you were there, from first, second, just any? Who are the people that you grew up with over there?
Well, Ron and mostly Ron have done, and we pulled together a list of 100 people
Wow.
that we have, and we're getting their phone numbers now. So we're going to try to call all of this 100. But
Well, just read some of those names off. Somebody may know what their numbers are.
Tom Barrett, M.B. Bacon.
That's Suds, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Buddy Brock, let's see, Donnie Buckner, Jimmy Carroll, the Castellos. The Sherlins had about 6 kids that went there. Holloway's had a lot of kids that went there.
Fraser's.
Fraser's had a lot of kids that went there.
Mooneyhams.
Mooneyhams, I have several
4.
kids. One of the things about uniqueness of that, and I've thought about this last night quite a bit, is that we were a blue collar community.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's parents worked at either a cheer factory, most of them at Hardwick Clothes or Hardwick Woolen Mills and all. But it was a real close-knit community. Anybody needed help, you got it. We knew everybody. We would play down that play field, the Tempton Hill field. There's always was something to do, you know. And I
And
was
if
so
you
proud of that.
misbehaved, your mama knew about it before you got home.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You always got 2 whippings, one at school and one at home.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Wasn't much crime then in the community.
no, because we all, I was thinking back. There's some people still living down there in that area when I was a kid. Still to this day. I just sold my mother's house last week from down there. And
Ron
she's been
and
gone 10 years.
I drove through that community last night and was admiring the work that Mr. Connolly has done.
He is due all of our applause.
Those little houses right past the old Coke plant, I still call it. They're just, they're unbelievable. They're so neat and just perfect for a young couple getting married and living there and working downtown.
Well,
that's just a great place.
I believe, and y'all help me if you know any different, I think those houses were probably built about 100 years ago as mill houses.
They were mill houses for Hardwick Woolen Mills, and you paid your rent out of your work. When I had my
it was like a payroll deduction, wasn't it?
when I had an emergency operation, I was in the 6th grade, appendicitis, and they actually said, "Don't worry about the bill." And they took a little of her time out of Mother's paycheck. She worked there for 26 years.
What did she do there?
She sewed like, most of them did.
What was your mother's name?
Niecy.
Now, Ron, where did you live at down there?
I lived below Maples Cheer Factory on the curve right at the edge of the city limits.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Right there. And
Where
Maples
Wholesale Supply has a...
Wholesale
Right.
Supply has a place now.
Yes.
But I remember I was a Cleveland Daily Banner carrier. Henry Gallon was the personnel man over at the Banner, and it was 30 cents a month.
Made that big money, didn't you?
Big money. And everybody invite you in to eat breakfast and everything.
Well, that's good. Now, the Armours lived right on up from you up there, too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Some Armours live up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were on my list, too.
Well, read some more of those names off.
Oh, Lord. Well, I mentioned Armour there. Barbara Armour, Gary Elliff, who is my cousin. We had Jerry Frazier, we mentioned. Dean Gentry was down there. We had several Gregs.
I'm waving at Jerry Frazier as he comes in.
Oh, okay.
Don thought I had lost my mind and I was doing bunny ears or something over his head.
I thought she was really just waving me to shut up.
No.
Okay. Somebody here online says Trotters, and I believe that was the police chief lived down there on Church. They're both smiling and shaking their heads. Lived at Church and Acoy Street, and I remember folks in that family.
He lived at about 1235.
No, he'd be, Ninth Street's there where the Fred Clayton's barbershop and him be.
Fred Clayton's barbershop.
They're
Jack
at the top of the
Trotter
hill.
lived, on that Ronnie Trotter.
Oh, okay.
That old house still there, isn't it? Living something, yeah.
You know what you guys need to do? You need to find you somebody that can draw straight lines, and y'all need to draw a map of how you remember it and who lived in what houses.
I've
and
already
build.
done that.
Oh,
Hey,
Ron, you're my hero.
Ron's a self-made historian.
I love it. Now,
I went house by house on the end of the road, and Mull was the one that lived on the edge of Ocoy Street, and I went all the way down through there, all the way down to the school and back up to Ocoy Street.
Hey, folks, you're listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, sponsored by Companion Funeral and Cremation Services. And we got Don Guerin, Ron Rogers, and Jerry Frazier in here today talking about Tempton Hill School. You can call us here at 614-5553. If you know anything about Tempton Hill School, particularly if you know why it's named Tempton Hill.
Jerry, do you know why it's named Templeton Hill?
I'm sure the Templeton family
Oh, yeah. Pull the microphone. Whoa, stop. Pull the microphone around.
That.
I think that's
there's some very prominent tombstones in the very oldest section of Fort Hill with the name Templeton on it.
That would make sense.
Of course, I lived at the foot of it. I played on the cemetery about half my life, so I always assumed that. Now, I don't know that that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Well,
that'd be something we'd all love to know.
Seems like I've read it somewhere that the Templeton family donated the property, but I don't know that now. I have.
Ask Devin in about a week. She'll tell you exactly where they're buried.
I got a good researcher here online helping me with it.
One of the neat things about going to Tempton Hill when you was a kid, you'd go down and walk in that Woolen Mill branch, and you go home and your cover of your legs would tell you you've been in the creek because there was all kind of dye stuff.
That's kind of like before the environmental laws, and that's the creek they call Dye Creek, isn't it?
Yeah.
And whatever color your feet was whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever color your feet was what color the wool was that day. Now, Don, you said your mom was a sewer at Hardwick Woolen Mills, and was she in the pants department? Do you remember?
Oh, no. Most people don't realize, and they had it on top of the mill. I don't know where it's still there. World's largest, and what that meant, woolen mill, it was from raw wool to finished product.
Yes.
So, in later years, Peerless bought out the cloth making.
1956.
1956. I never worked there, but I went to the new plant, helped a guy. We run temporary lights and chalked the floor out for the machines, and I put 21 years in textiles. Ended up getting a degree in textile design, and before I went to the college, and then spent the rest of my time there. But yeah, I had that. My grandfather was a spinner in the woolen mill. My mother was a sewer. My dad was a spinner also there, and my stepdad was a weaver.
Wow. We have movies that Hardwick Close has loaned us, like picnics, 1950s at Lake Winnepesaukah, like the ladies from the pants department. And they are dressed up. They look like they're going to a dance or something. They all have on their iron dresses and their pocketbooks and their little hats, and they're waving at the cameras. And I can't wait to get that on DVD so I can show it to some folks, and hopefully we will be able to get some of the names.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of 1950s sewers, but lots of it's just their hands.
Ron, who's your parents? Get your mic there closer.
James Rogers and Edna, and my dad worked at Hardwick Clothes first, and my mom worked at Magic Chef.
Wow, your mom worked.
Right to work.
Oh,
What
yeah.
did your mom do at Magic Chef, Ron?
I think she worked with the enamel company there. She worked second shift, walk home, walk to work.
Yeah.
She
That's
walked
what I
home
meant
second
earlier
shift.
about
Wow.
we were blue collared people. Most of the parents worked pro people, and they worked a lot of them down at the Woolen Mill or the Stove Foundry, which was 2 blocks over, and the enamel plant, which is down at the end of Waterhouse Street,
Well,
who
that
later on was called Euclid Avenue.
right.
That was Hardwick's enamel. You know, they had Magic Chefs over at the place. So
Yeah.
Euclid Avenue. His name was Euclid Waterhouse, and they couldn't fit Waterhouse on the sign, so they changed the name of the street to Euclid Avenue.
Jerry, who was your parents?
Well, my mother was Dorothy Sherlin Frazier, and she spent her career sewing, partly at Hardwick's, and then about all the chair factories in town. I think she sewed for all of them. And her mother was sewed before her.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad was a master weaver. He worked at the Woolen Mill and walked to work, as Don said. And then when they moved out on what is now Peerless Road, where the Mars plant is, he went out there. I can remember when he started, they ran about 3 looms apiece, and before he quit, technology was such that he was running 14 looms, and they tried real hard to get him to move when they closed the plant, but he wasn't about to leave. But that was his career, was a weaver.
So now, where was your house located?
Well, I always asked my mom if we moved every time the rent came due, because we lived in about 8 or 10 different houses on South Ocoee Street. When I started at Templeton Hill, I lived right across the street from the school. There's Penny's Sandwich Shop where Ocoee and Broad come together. The first house is still there on the right. I get up 5 to 8 and run across the street to school. Started at 8. But then we also lived, my grandparents, the Sherlins, lived at 1275 South Ocoee Street. And we lived in probably half dozen different houses up and down through there. I guess the one I lived in the longest was at 762, which is just probably about 3 houses south of what was then the Coke plant that's now Connelly Electric.
Mm-hmm. That's just this whole community was just sort of built around those jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and one time, most of these people in our community would have been farmers, and as probably your grandparents who were here, and they just sort of moved towards where work was, and more money than farming, I guess.
Most of us that lived down there, a lot of the parents, including mine, we got our first car when I was a senior in high school, because we walked everything. Walk up Princess Theater or walk down to the old playhouse on the south end of Church Street, which is now the community center. But it was a little wooden building called the Playhouse, and I'm sure Jerry remembers.
What happened at the
It
Playhouse?
was the South Cleveland YMCA, actually. My grandfather was on the board. Miss Kelly was the manager, and they had a ball field right across from where Suds Barrett lived, and a lot of softball and a lot of ceramics and all the sort of things that you did back then.
I worked for her. My job 2 nights a week was to be there and wax the floors and sweep it out, and then help with the playground equipment while I was in high school. Yeah, I remember Miss Kelly very well.
She ran a tight ship.
Yeah.
I have a picture of the old playhouse where we got uniforms when we were 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, Ron's got all kind of pictures. I've got a lot of football pictures, history for you. What was your first car, Don?
Ford.
What kind? Do you remember what?
Oh, yeah, 48 Ford.
48 Ford.
Let me tell you a story about that. You'll get a laugh of.
All right.
I had played, used to, and I wish they had it today. We'd go to the ballpark on July the 4th, and they play games all day, softball games, baseball games. At night, the feature thing was the Cleveland Independents. Odell Swafford, Harley Kelly, Pete Centers, Rip Townsend, all of those guys. Austin Stevenson was on that team. Well, I went home and cleaned up after playing in 3 or 4 games. I forget how many during that day. Come back, and Shorty Jordan made me buy a ticket. And I raised Cain. I fussed, but he made me, and I bought a ticket and went in, and the grand prize was an electric stove. I won the stove. I swapped it to my aunt, who had hit every car in Cleveland with this old Ford, even. So that's how the first car come about.
Ron, what was your first car?
My first car was an A model. I bought it from $30. A model coupe, and it ran. And I'd go to Vest Hill, pick up Ralph Pippinger. We'd have to back up the hill. It wouldn't pull up.
But now, do you still wish you had both those cars? You wish you had that 48 and you had that A?
Yeah. That was the first car I owned.
I sold that to go to college. That was $500, and borrowed $500 from Burlington Industries, who had just bought Peerless out, to go. And Wayne Fear was our personnel manager then. And he said, I bet you're the only guy that ever paid back their student loan.
Yeah. Jerry, what was your first car?
I had a 55 Chevrolet.
Oh, gosh.
My dad took me to the Merchants Bank, Bobby Taylor. I paid $200 for it. And Bobby financed it. I paid 10 payments of $21.80. I later learned that was an exorbitant interest rate, and I told Bobby that before he died. But that was my first one.
I'm sure you'd like to have it, too.
Oh, I'd like to have it. It'd be worth a lot more than that if I had it today.
Oh, yeah. Those old 55 Chevrolets. Unfortunately, they're all gone because everybody started making race cars out of them.
Yeah.
No dirt tracks.
Ron, let me give you remember where your uncle lived there on Oak Street.
Yeah.
Well, there was 5 of us pooled $20 apiece and bought an A model. It had the mechanical brakes. And we took turns who would get to use it. Mm-hmm. Gene had it this particular weekend. Your uncle. There's a big old rock set right there at the entrance of that into the old baseball field. And somebody would get down on Lee Highway, because it was the only busy highway, no interstate then, and wave the traffic on. Well, they waved him on, and all of a sudden waved him off, and they cut over and hit that rock, and there went our investment.
All right, explain to me what mechanical brakes are.
Let's get this phone.
Let's get this call, and we'll go back to mechanical brakes in a minute.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron and Deb. How's it going?
Hey, Bullet, the skunk man.
Yeah. I'm down at your house right now, and I'm kind of getting a little older from it, I think.
Oh, no. Well, we haven't smelled anything yet. For those of you who don't know, we got up Tuesday morning to find a very large skunk that apparently couldn't swim too well in the bottom of our swimming pool.
Well,
and what do you do in case of emergency? You call Bullet. And Bullet came and fished the skunk out.
Well, I do appreciate I'd like to thank somebody this morning, Ron, if I may.
Go ahead.
I'd like to thank the VFW for making me an honorary member. And I actually went over last night seeing Pro Daddy, and they're actually they're really nice people who work at the VFW, and I just want to thank them for making me an honorary member.
Well, you do so much for the veterans here as a good thing. I appreciate the VFW for doing it for you, too.
And I just want to tell to all your guests, I think Jerry Frager's going to be there this morning, isn't he?
He's sitting right over here.
Oh, is he?
Yes, sir.
Well, Jerry's a good guy. You know, he actually called Sarah Jennings, and she actually sent me a CD of that Pay It Forward, and now I got to get me a DVD to play it.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, I'm going to listen to your show. I've got to head to the Veterans Cemetery. I got 2 markers to put up.
Do what?
But anyway, I'm going to listen to your show as much as I can. All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right, bye-bye, Bullet. Hey, you can call us here at 614-5553, and you're listening to Old Town Cleveland here, sponsored by Companion Funeral and Cremation Services. We've got Dennis Stafford just come in the room there, and Don Guerin, Ron Rogers, and Jerry Frazier in here. We're talking about Tempton Hill School, and
That's your phone number.
Just give us a call, 614-5553, and particularly if you know how Tempton Hill got its name. We think it's from the Templeton family, but we don't know all the details yet. Maybe we'll figure that out.
Introduce Dennis.
Yes, Dennis How you doing, Dennis?
Hey, if it's any better, I'll be in heaven, buddy.
All right. What year did you go to Templeton Hill?
He's counting.
50s, I guess, early 50s. I don't remember because I moved around quite a lot when I left Templeton Hill.
Who was your mom and dad?
Howard Edward Stafford, Virginia Meeks. About 1951.
That's probably about right.
I can remember. Let me tell you something about Templeton Hill. We lived down there in the far end of the Waterhouse Street, right behind the old enamel plant there. And my first recollection of going to Miss Templeton Hill was went in Mrs. Schott's room, first grade room, and we were all sitting there, which I'd never seen anything like that before. And I had to go to the restroom, and she showed me where the restroom was, and it was an indoor toilet with ceramics. I had never seen one before. I was amazed that you could actually flush the toilet because we'd always had an outhouse. And I was sitting there in awe on my little throne thinking, well, wow, this is pretty neat, as a kid would do. But yeah, that's my first recollection of.
Well, there's not as many spiders or anything in there, are there?
There was, and the odor was not so bad either. No lime. You had to put lime in there. Anything. It was amazing.
One of the things that I mentioned earlier about everybody worked in factories and so forth and all was the fact that we all were really poor, but there was no such thing as welfare workers. The community took care of itself. And the neat thing about it, I was talking to John Lee, who just had some heart operations, one of our fellow classmates, and we were all poor. There was only one class down there, and that class was poor.
I don't think so, because we always felt like that the Upper Ocoee were the richer folks, where Bob Sherlin lived, and Link, George Link, and
Clyde,
and Mike Prince and his family lived on the Upper Ocoee. We lived in the lower Waterhouse Street, so there was some wealth down there, comparatively speaking. But you can't remember that. Your memory's sliding a little bit, Don. Maybe. You recall Hannah's grocery store?
Oh yeah,
that was the Walmart down on that end.
Now, where was Hannah's at?
Right there on the
corner of 11th Street
in
Ocoee.
Yeah.
11th and Ocoee. Okay.
And Grace had a little store on.
Yeah, his daddy owned one across the street. But our store we shopped at the school was Painter's Grocery.
Painter.
Right there at the school, across the street.
He used to have bubble gum. We'd get bubble gum. It'd be last 30 seconds, a whole box of bubble gum.
I remember going over to Painter's store if you had a nickel, Mr. Painter was really a very pleasant man. I mean, he was just there forever. He was old, probably 35 or so. He was ancient, but anyway, he was the nicest man. And my great grandfather was Luke Brown, and I'd hit him up for a nickel, and I could go over to Painter's store and buy a bologna sandwich, and he'd cut you a big slab of bologna. Remember at lunchtime? Did you ever do that? It was a treat, on old dry bread and a piece of bologna, man. You were in heaven.
That sounds pretty good right now.
I'm telling you.
Now, did kids from Oldfield come over to Templeton Hill, or was that guys on the other side of the track?
Other side of the track.
Well, we used to. No, well, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but the Oldfield Pack Rats and the South Cleveland Rogues. That's what it was called back in the day. We used to play sandlot football right there beside the old branch there at the Templeton Hill. Remember that little deep place where and those old boys from the boys from 6th Ward.
Yeah, College Hill.
Yeah, College Hill. They'd come over there and we'd get out there in the side of the place by that old branch there, and we'd play tackle football, no helmets, no pads, and we just knocked the way out of each other. Just Bill Sewell and Don Sewell and Big Ill. You remember Big Ill? Freddie Hicks and Robert Gibson, all
Dewey
the
on-
boys. Yeah,
Duke
they'd come
on- Yeah, but they was still a differential between the Oldfield guys and South Cleveland. The railroad tracks actually separated.
Yeah.
Now, where did they go to school? Would that have been Allen? Blythe. Okay. Yeah. So, but there was some separation. Probably not evil, but you know.
No, but you buddied around with those from South Cleveland, and the Oldfield boys buddied around with the Oldfield boys. You know?
I recall that down at the old enamel plant. I don't keep me to get interrupted, but they used to have. They'd make these enamel for the stoves, and out of that enamel, the waste would be egg rocks, looked like a big hunk of enamel, and we would get those egg rocks and fight with the guys across the railroad track, throw them back at each other. That's kind of a war that we had going. I don't know where you would call it or not, but if you got hit with one, you'd remember it. Hey, Bobby, how you doing, bud?
Good, ain't you?
Long time no see.
How you doing, Boog?
Doing good, Ron. How about you?
I can't complain. Do you know any of these guys in this room?
Oh, yeah, I know them a little bit. Now,
when did you go to Templeton Hill?
I went to Templeton Hill from 47 to 55.
And so, now was these guys younger or older than you?
Oh, he's a lot older. God.
Well, there's a couple here older than me and a couple younger. So I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So now, who's your favorite teacher down there?
Miss Bounds.
Miss Bounds.
She was a Miss Clemmer
of the elementary.
Elementary.
Yeah.
I guarantee. She had a rough. Did she, Bob?
She kept you straight, but she also taught you a lot and made you feel good about who you were.
I want to interject about Miss Bounds. Miss Bounds' husband, I think, worked for TVA.
TVA.
Yep.
And they had a cabin up at Lake Ocoee. And it was not unusual for Miss Bounds to take students up there. And those students out of those poor areas that Don referred to, they'd never experienced that. And she did that. And I can remember buying shoes for kids that didn't have shoes. And then I also remember there was one section per grade. And when I came through, of course, they ended up cutting it off at 6th grade. But when I started there, it had 8 grades. Bob Henley was the 7th grade teacher, and she was the 8th. And like I said, I practically lived on the school grounds, but I can remember her going to Mr. Henley and saying, is anybody not going to pass to 8th grade? And I can remember Mr. Henley giving her a name and saying, well, so-and-so's just not ready. And I remember her saying, let me have him, Bobby. She wanted him. She wanted you give her the poorest kid, the ones having the most trouble. Miss Bounds wanted him. She was a great teacher.
She was the girls' basketball coach, too. Did it all.
Do y'all remember a particular guy named Wawa?
Oh, yeah.
He and Miss Bounds had a feud. I mean, it was. I think he slapped her one time, and it was like the earthquake. Y'all recall that? They got into it, and she was so forgiving for him, but I think he actually physically hit her.
Oh, Wawa.
And I think Bill Schultz kind of let him know who was the chief that day. You don't recall any of that? You remember that?
I don't remember him. I remember Bill Schultz. He had a paddle that ought to go in a museum somewhere. It was about 1.25 inches thick, had holes drilled in, and he'd whittle on it all the time. And I remember one time, this is one of the funniest stories you'll ever hear about elementary. Me and I won't even tell a kid's name because he's dead now.
Let me get this call right here, and then we'll hold that thought. Go ahead, caller.
Can I put my 2 cents in, Ron?
You sure can.
I went down there. Ask Jerry who that teacher was that always stood up there on the steps whenever before school started every morning. Was that Miss Chase or Miss Bounds?
Miss Young, wasn't it?
No.
No?
It wasn't Miss Young. Now, I had her, and then my mother and my aunt had her. Then when I got to the 4th grade, I had her.
That was Miss Young. She taught my mom and most everybody sitting here. She taught 4th grade for a long time.
Miss Plank was up there sometime, wasn't she?
Yeah, Miss
Yeah,
Plank.
see,
right.
You entered the school in 3 different entrances. and whoever your teachers was near those entrances is who lined you up.
Well, Miss McElrath was on one, Miss Plank was on one, Miss Young was on the other. I think that's what.
Miss Logan.
Yeah.
Miss Logan called.
I'll tell you a good story about Miss Young. My next older brother, Mervyn, was in her class, and she somehow inadvertently locked him in the coat room. So we get home, and about 8 o'clock at night, Dad expected everybody to be home, and he's not home. So we start all over the neighborhood down through South Cleveland looking for him, and can't find him. And finally somebody said, well, maybe he's still at school or whatever. So we went and got Mr. Kaler, and my dad went in there, and they found him in the coat room asleep. He had gone to sleep in there. Miss Young had locked him in the coat room.
Hey, I've got a doll that my aunt had made back years ago, probably back in the 30s, maybe early 40s. It's got colors, blue and gold, I think. Eh?
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got one of them. And I've got a picture also of Templeton Hill School showing the front of it, what bell hung.
Okay. Yeah, we'd like to have that.
Be sure to come down there on September the 26th from 11 o'clock to 2 and bring the things, and we're going to try to make copies of a lot of these pictures and so forth. We're looking for that.
I was telling the listener he didn't introduce himself. This is Joe Godfrey for everybody that doesn't know.
And Mr. Princess Theater, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Jay.
All right, bye.
Go ahead and tell us about that story now.
Well, again, I'm not going to call the kid's name that's with me, but we were going to let Mr. Schultz work off some detention time, and he would do it a lick an hour. And, you had to study where you wanted to do that. Well, this kid and Mr. Schultz, when he gave you a paddling, he would grab you by your belt and tighten your pants up and have you bend over, and he would whack away.
He would light you up.
I mean, yeah. So he lit me up already, so I'm standing there, and this kid was next to get his worked off. And back in those days, there was no such thing as safety matches. There was the old wooden matches. Well, he had a pocket full of those things. And he lit him up literally. He was running around in the basement down there, and Schultz hollered, "Get the water fountain and turn the water on." He caught him and drug him. Nowadays there'd be $1 million lawsuits. But he was like a chicken running around there in that basement trying to catch that kid with his pants on fire.
See, now, the Mr. Schultz I had at Bradley High School wasn't like that. He just sort of laid back guy when he'd got over it by then, hey.
No, he hadn't.
He was the same guy, and he was fiery his entire life.
I was being a little facetious there.
You're being a lot facetious.
I remember one day the fire engine came by Templeton Hill going down South Ocoee Street, and I think, man, I wonder where that's going. It didn't happen very much. And so I went up and told my teacher at the time, I can't remember, I was probably in the 3rd or 4th grade, that I was sick. And so she took me to Mr. Schultz's office, and Mr. Schultz said, "Well, what's the problem?" I said, "My stomach, man. I'm sick. I need to go home." He said, "Well, come on." So we went down to the cafeteria, and he mixed me up a big glass full of soda water, and made me drink it.
Oh.
And I mean, he mixed it strong too. And I drank that, and then I really did get sick. So Mr. Schultz, he had his way of taking care of things.
Mr. Schultz made me, my senior year, I hadn't shaved in 2 or 3 days, and he caught me in the hall, took me down there, pulled open, had shaving cream and a razor, took me to the bathroom, and made me stand there and shave.
Let me tell you one. My house burned down when I was in 7th grade. Everyone, the whole people came. They came down there.
Mm-hmm.
And here I was 50 years later or so, I was over at the parts store on Wildwood Avenue, and there's a guy, he said, "What is your name?" And I told him, he said, "Well, I'm A.L. Molnax, and a Redmond girl." And I said, "I've been looking for you for 50 years. And he said, "Why?" I said, "I want to give you give me a shirt, for my house burnt." And I gave him $100. and he's dead now.
You remember that shirt I gave you?
Pair of pants and shoes too, wasn't it?
Yeah. The only shoes had a hole in it, but it was a thing, you know.
While Boog was speaking there, we've had a lot of great athletes come out of that area.
Yeah.
But the one that came out that went on to the service, which was probably the best athlete, would you not? Well, it would be a toss between him and Bill Centers. Bill Centers carried the football team a lot when that great team when Steve was on now. But Boog's brother, Jay Sherlin, he was probably the best basketball player to ever come out of there. And the best in the county was Jim Whaley, Liberty School.
Yeah,
That's all argumentative a little bit.
And when they met to play one another, it was sort of like the clash of the Titans.
Yeah, and that's when Tip Smith was a coach at Bradley, and he came to my house, and my dad had TB, and they'd sent him home to die, and he did die 53 years later, without any scars on his lungs or anything else. But my mom also, just when they came home, a year later, they found out my mom had cancer. So Tip Smith came to our house. I remember, that's one of the first things I remember as a young boy, and begged my daddy to let Jay go to high school and play basketball on the same team with Jimmy Whaley, who won the state championship.
Yeah.
And I saw my dad cry and say, no, he can't. He's got to go to work and help support the family. So Jay didn't get to go.
Did he go to Navy?
He went to the Navy and became a softball pitcher and a basketball player and pitched for the world champion fast pitch softball team.
And he raced against Bob Hayes, the fastest man in the world. He told me he raced with him. And how are you, I believe?
You're talking about a little sports deal, Ronnie. Warren McGee, back in the day, it was at the YMCA, and him and I think Warren Brewster and some of those guys were over there. But the playhouse is where most of the kids that went to Templeton Hill went to play. But anyway, Warren McGee came over there and said they're going to have a track meet at Arnold School on Saturday, and we'd like a few boys at Templeton Hill to come and participate against Mayfield, Allen, and Arnold. So we got Bill Centers and Chester Wooten and myself and several of the guys down there that we went over to Arnold. We went down Church Street over to South Lee over to and into the YMCA and then Arnold School. And there was a bunch of people. I mean, it was like I guess 400 or 500 people there, all the parents and all that stuff. And they asked us what we wanted to participate in, what sports we wanted to participate in. Well, we didn't have a clue what a track meet was. We're just. But anyway, we were going to run the race track for 100 yard and 440 and stuff like that. So some of those guys put together our own little team so we could make this run. And I remember I went over that shoes. I didn't have no shoes of the whole thing. But anyway, one of the guys said, "Well, you can't run on the track." And I said, "Well, why can't I run on the track?" And he said, "Well, it's made out of cinder and it'll hurt your feet." And Warren said, "Yeah, let him. He's okay." So Centers and Wooten and I can't remember all of them. But we had a stellar day. We won lots of red ribbons, blue ribbons, and white ribbons. And it was like about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the day when it finished up. And Warren, Mr. McGee, took us from there to Central Avenue and walked us up to Ocoee, which was a two-way street then. Jimmy Law had a little place across the street, and Harshbarger Stratton's there on the corner. And we turned that corner, and he walked us from Central Avenue all the way down to South Lee Highway so everybody could see that we had those ribbons. We had a lot of ribbons on, I mean, just a bunch of them. And on the way down through there, I remember I had red ones and blue ones, but I didn't have a white one. I had maybe 4 or 5 blue ones, and I couldn't outrun Centers. I could not run out Rascal at all. I mean, he'd hit and I'd hit. He'd hit and I could never outrun. But anyway, I was trading one of my blue ribbons for a white ribbon. And Warren said, why why you want to trade the blue ribbon for the white ribbon? He said, the blue ribbon is a better award. And I said, I just like the white ribbon. It's so shiny. I just want to have one. And I tried.
You wanted to be that red, white, and blue, didn't you?
Hey, it was one of those times where you just never forget that he was proud to carry us from Central right down past where they're spitting tobacco at you on the old courthouse. And all the people down there come by, and they were all out, chatting around like they do on Saturday morning at that time. And some of those people go by and they clap. It was just a marvelous feeling at that time. We're just kids.
Right. Now, reunion, tell us about that real quick.
Yeah, on September the 26th, we're going to do it from 11 to 2 down at the old school grounds. It's actually going to be on the back end of the gymnasium cafeteria, the one building that's still standing that was there when we all were there.
And you just have to show up, right?
Just show up.
Yeah.
No cost. We're going to have refreshments. Going to try to have a tent and seats where we can sit around, some tables, but bring your memorabilia and bring your pictures, because we're going to try to make copies of the pictures, for people to share with other people, because there's so little about that area of the school.
Yeah, that's very important, and we talk about that here, is get those pictures out. So getting those shoe boxes and in those drawers, and if you got old pictures of class pictures, teacher pictures, kids standing on the playground, anything, and particularly if you show a lot of the building, because there's just not tons of pictures out there that the public sees. Everything, we need to get those to the library to save that, and so commend you on doing that. And so September 26th. Make sure you call me 2 or 3 more times on Saturday mornings and remind us, because I know I can forget like instantly here. Hey, it's time for our mid-morning break here. We'll be back here about 3 or 4 minutes. We'll play a song called Gone Home right after our few sponsor ads there that says to all the people who's passed this week in our community, we try to say just our little tribute to them, and it's a song called Gone Home. We'll be back here in just a few minutes here on Old Time Cleveland.
Ron, excuse me, before you cue it up, a couple of people really close to me this particular week. Hank Smith, of course, passed away on the McDonald's franchise, and Mark's a good friend, sports official.
Yes.
And in one that went very quietly, Bobby Pendergrass, J.P. Pendergrass, his wife, passed away, and her funeral was this week. So I just wanted to mention those two before you played your song. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'm having trouble with my mouse here, but I'll get it started here in a minute. I'm having to put it in my lap so that it will do it. We'll be back here in just a few seconds.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash.
Turn your car into cash at Check Into Cash.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500.
At Check Into Cash, you get the most for your car, and we make it quick, easy, and confidential.
Stop in for an auto title loan today or a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH.
Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
Hardwick Clothes, America's oldest tailor-made clothing company, has been making our best-selling navy blazers for 134 years. Visit Hardwick.com to get the $295 wrinkle-resistant travel blazer at the price of $195. Order by 3 and get by 10. Free next day air. Hardwick.com, America's oldest, and sewn in Cleveland, Tennessee since 1880.
CARTA is the bus system down in Chattanooga, and I saw, Mandor, they're giving free bus rides. So let's call CARTA, and I want to see if they'll come get you in Cleveland and take you out drinking tonight.
On aboard.
Yeah, they're giving free bus rides. This is CARTA, the bus people down in Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. It's like our Cetra, but tell them to see if they'll come get you. Free bus rides. Ask if they'll take you to a sports bar. I bet they're closed. That's a government-run agency. They've been closed for 2 hours.
Bonds?
See if they'll call us back tomorrow. You just want a free bus ride?
Do y'all have food stamps?
Free bus ride.
Oh, a free bus ride.
Hey, where's Ella?
to say, gone and gone home, gone and gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home and gone home, gone and gone home. Life here is lonely since they've gone before. Gone and gone home, gone and gone home. The old weeping willow that stands by the door sadly sighs. And gone home, gone and gone home.
Hi, this is Lisa with Check Into Cash. We give you more money for your title.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in the shopping mall. Where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old, or just me? Did all my friends get old, or just me? Are they all gonna have to be told, or just me?
Welcome back to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. Old Town Cleveland is sponsored by Companion Funeral and Cremation Services over on 2417 Georgetown Road, Northwest. You can call them over there at 473-2620. Good friends of ours, the Cody family, they're run Companion, and I used them for my mother's services recently, and they are really just a great job, and thank you for being our sponsor here. We're talking about Tempton Hill School today, and now we have with us Dennis Stafford, Don Guerin, Boog Sherlin, and Jerry Frazier. And Boog, what's your real name? I've never called you anything but Boog all my life.
It's Bob.
Bob, okay. All right.
You know, people come to town and want to know where Bob Sherlin lives, and they say, "Well,
I never heard of him." Yeah,
they call him Boog. Oh yeah, he lives.
You can call us here at 614-5553. You can also, if you're out of town, call 423-614-5553. Deb, you got a little information about, if you'll tell us real quick here.
As he catches me off guard.
Tempton Hill School.
Templeton Hill School was built at the same time that College Hill was built in 1924. They started the school season that year in September, and it said in the article that the Templeton Hill students met at their former school site, South Cleveland. So now we got to figure out where South Cleveland's old building was. And the children at College Hill were meeting at the Colored Masonic Lodge until their new building was completed. And so they both opened in 1924, but it didn't say who Templeton Hill was named after. Something, and a friend of mine online was kind of confirming it. I think there was a dentist named Dr. Templeton that owned a lot of that property, and that's probably where the donation came from. Ron, you got a caller.
Okay. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Well, it's Bob Cash.
Hey, Bob Cash. How are you?
Hello, Bobby.
Hello there, little bitties. Look at just dialed in, enjoying your program. And what about Red? Did Red go to Tempton Hill?
No, she went to West Fannin County Women's Institute. I mean, school, elementary. I got that wrong. Elementary.
Oh, I see. You know, an old buddy of mine went 8 years over there at Tempton Hill. That's where he got his fame and fortune. Brad Evans. You know Brad Evans?
I do.
Just talking about him a moment ago.
Oh, he's a good old boy. Well, listen, I'll let you run, boys. It's almost happy hour, and you know we like to get happy. And tell Red I said to straighten up.
All right. I'll do it, Bob.
All right, buddy. Talk to y'all later.
All right, bye-bye. Bob's always got women on his mind. Women are drinking. I don't know which one he likes the most there, but
he could only do one of them, so it's, you know what that is.
Okay. Yeah, that's why it's happy hour.
She was talking about mentioning names, and I was sitting here thinking about from the old Templeton Hill. You could start there at the Hester's on the corner, and then you would go to the Burks there, and you go to E.K. Davis and William Centers and those boys that went to Templeton Hill. Remember Gilbert and E.K. Very well. They were older people, and the Moores were there, and the Almonds. You remember the Almond brothers and the Browns and
Bobby Almond.
Bobby Almond, yeah.
He could knock the cover off of softball.
Yeah, great athletes down there. There were some really, really fine people to go. I remember it was kind of I don't know if I need to tell this or not, but we were staying all night on a porch in one of the people's houses down there on the street. We used to sleep out on the porch in the summertime when it's really hot. We were there one night, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was a fire lit up just across the street. And when we awakened, there was a cross being burnt across the street. And it scared me pretty good because I'd never seen it. And I was looking under the little, where you put your foot when you stand on a banister there. And they had a bunch of guys out there. Ku Klux Klan was there. And somebody had done one of the students at Templeton Hill some damage, I guess, or something. But anyway, the cross was burnt. They done whatever they did, and then they left. But that child was never abused again. I can tell you that.
That's something that a lot of people don't know, Ron. Back when we were kids, the Ku Klux Klan probably did more stuff to white people, much more stuff.
Yes,
absolutely.
Discipline-wise than they did to blacks. We lived right there on South Ocoee Street, and they would always meet up on the cemetery. And we would crawl on our bellies up through the sage field right up to where they were meeting, and we could hear them and listen to them, and we would find out where they were going. And then we would turn around and crawl back down and get on our bicycles and take off.
Yep.
And watch and hide behind bushes and trees and stuff and watch what they did. And about 90% of the time it was some white guy who was running around on his wife or
beating his wife.
Or beating
right.
his wife.
Yes,
or being abusive, like Dennis said, to the children. And that's just the way it was when we grew up.
You know, Cleveland didn't have a large race differential here. You know, we had a small race. And even to today, with still a small black population.
6 to 7%.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the Ku Klux Klan done a lot more. You know, now not saying that they didn't do some things along the way that probably wasn't good, but you know, they aren't the same organization everybody thinks they are today. They were more of they started as a fraternal group in Pulaski. So, but that's interesting here. We've talked about doing a show about them, but you know, we don't know if we you know, how easy it is to offend people, you know, in this politically correct world here. So it'd be hard to do without doing that. Now, we've heard some very interesting stories. We know where their headquarters was here in Cleveland, and where some people still have the paraphernalia from the headquarters. And I won't tell you where it is, but that place is gone now. It is gone. The building's no longer there, but I'll tell you after the hour.
We probably already know.
You probably, Boog is right down here. He followed him on his bicycle.
Well, one of the things that I really appreciated but never realized back then was the fact that we were a little secular community. We were basically a mill town in itself. Mm-hmm. Everybody's parents worked. Most of them, both parents worked, and had to make ends meet, so to speak. But again, no one realized they were poor. One thing about it, I remember many a time my mother would stay up overnight with some sick family kid that she'd heard about and then go into work the next day there. You know, I mean, it just, that was a norm. That was not unusual to happen.
There's a lot of things that differently. You know, the kids ran together. They played outside. They didn't work their thumbs on little phones and things like that. So you played with Paul a lot. But even like funerals were different. Did you go to funeral homes, or did you have them at your houses?
Most of the time it was at the house.
At the house.
A church. A lot of times they were at churk. I remember the Ku Klux back then, just briefly, as if
people.
I will just a minute. No, they were. You know, Bob would. I mean, we know what they did as children, and if you got out of pocket, they would light you up too. They would get a belt and really take care of a grown man. Have you seen that happen, Bob? I've seen, and it really was.
I've seen that happen several times.
They were the kind of people that if back at the time the police, city police was probably a small unit, but if the word got to John Doe that Jim Doe was doing some stuff, they would service you. I'm telling you, and they were. I'm not opposed or for against either one of them, but what they did at that time was necessary, you know. And like Bob said, most of the time they were of white folks getting us.
Okay,
go ahead. Chief Trotter was the chief of police back then. He lived right in the middle of us on South Old Court Street.
Yep.
And he would put the word out if he needed help.
We had another one, Sim Davis.
Sim
Davis lived right there close to him.
Do you guys remember when someone left a baby at the depot? And do you remember anything about that?
You know,
I don't.
It was down at the old depot down there on Edward Street, and there was somebody left a baby there that they didn't want to have the baby, and if
I know that Chief Trotter was called, and Chief Trotter went, and what did you do back in that time? He took the baby home with him. And that girl, I think, stayed with them for a while until they found a home. And I think the family only remembered that her first name was Vicky, and she actually came back and visited them prior to the time that they died.
I've got a copy of a newspaper, or actually it was an ad in the Cleveland Daily Banner, where Chief Trotter put out an order about hogs. The hogs were running all over Cleveland. And he had to take, and he had, so there was an ordinance passed, and he was going, and people were finding them, and they had deputies. If your hog run, he'd shoot them and take your hogs. And I was going, so it was just a little comical thing when he said Trotter. I remember that. I've got a copy of that, and it's a little. Jerry, you have.
Well, one other thing I want to say is unique about Templeton Hill. This is in days when the city and county actually got along. Templeton Hill School closed. Would you say early 70s?
71, I think.
And Big Springs, which was a county school, burned in about 78, maybe give or take a couple years. And the city actually loaned that building, which was still there. Big Springs came over and operated in the Templeton Hill School for 2 or 3 years prior to its closing when Truett opened.
We had a lot of schools burned. College Hill burned, 67, 68, Big Springs. Templeton Hill eventually burned. Let's get this call. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, this is RD.
Hey, RD.
Interesting show. I love hearing about this old Cleveland stuff. But want to throw something in. You talk about the hogs running loose. A lot of people don't know that was an actual, long ago, an actual law enforcement duty. You know, the word sheriff refers to the old job, the shire reeve. Law enforcement officer for the Shire, the Old English land plot name. There was another job. One of his deputies was called the hog reeve, and his job was to patrol for loose hogs and make sure the fences were tended. You had to, if your hog got into somebody else's garden, he would have to assign the blame, whether you had a bad fence around your garden or the owner of the hog had a bad fence around the hog lot. So it's just some old ancient stuff there. But as far as we were talking about the Klan stuff, a couple years ago, I had a young lady call me. She'd inherited a trunk from her great-grandfather, who was a World War I veteran. Went through it and found a bunch of old bayonets from the war and some military gear. And one of the things that I unrolled was a banner from a Ku Klux Klan rally. I've traced it to the meeting in Dallas, Texas in 1921. And rolled up inside that banner was a little leather sap, a little blackjack type of thing. And when I unrolled it, that girl took one look at it. She said, "Get that out of my house. I don't want that thing." I said, "Well, I'll be glad to take it." So, but you know, yeah, there's history there. It's like something you can't throw away, you know, because it is what it is, you know.
Well, I think you'd be surprised how many prominent people throughout our community and all communities were members of the Klan. That probably no one now. Klans are almost disappeared, but you'd be surprised at how many people were involved in it. And I say it wasn't the hate group that everybody thinks it is today. Although I'm sure that there was some racial tension there.
There was, but it got subverted over the years. It was a thing, you know. I ain't proud of it, but I've done a lot of research on it, and it was a quasi law enforcement type of thing, as you all mentioned, that regulated the communities. And you know, if man didn't have a job, was a layabout, well, he'd get paid a visit. He'd be made known, you're going to get off your butt and work and take care of your family.
Or they moved.
You're out of here, that's right. So, you know, it wasn't all, you know, hate stringing people up, but over the years it got subverted, and, you know, it's yeah, it is what it is. You know, it's like Civil War stuff. You know, it's history. You can be politically correct or historically accurate. You know, you got to pick which one you want to be.
I think if you've noticed in the last 20, 25 years, everything's become out of kilter. Notwithstanding the Ku Klux Klan, but look at the mess we're in now. We can see everything subverted.
Oh, it's just.
Let me lead you back to this reunion thing here real quick, Ron.
I'm gonna hang up and listen. You guys take care. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, one of the things I wanted to mention, I had heard about the Big Springs fire, and they going into Templeton Hill, and I didn't know the school had already closed, and then the city opened it back up for the Big Spring students. So if you were one of those people, you're welcome here for our reunion, because you were part of Templeton Hill. And then to give you a little sidebar on Big Spring School, when I was playing basketball with Charles McGowan, Suds Barrett, Johnny Lee, those guys, well, we beat everybody in Cleveland except Big Springs. Big Springs beat us 4 times out of 4 times. Yet in the tournament, they got matched against Mayfield School. Mayfield beat them, and we always could beat Mayfield. And so that's how we won the city championship.
It's just those matchups. You know, every matchup. Let me ask you a question. Now, you guys live down there, and you said in a blue-collar area here. How often did you go out and eat? I bet Jerry and I went out and ate more probably this week than you did all your life growing up. But now, when you did
going out to eat was walking up to the spot with your parents on Friday afternoon, which was payday, and getting a cheeseburger and a
bowl of chili.
Oh, well, that's a pretty big treat for all of us, you know. Yeah. But when's the first time you remember going out and just eating out in public?
Well, in my early years, I was telling you about my mom and dad both being sick.
Yeah.
So it was really tough for us, and so I was probably in the 6th or 7th grade before I remembered going and getting a hamburger.
Where'd you go?
We went to the Spot.
We
also went to a place over on the Wildwood.
Earl's.
Yeah.
That's where
we got a movie of Earl's.
Back there. Oh, Greek. That's where Greek got his name.
Oh, really?
Earl West. The Earl's restaurant over there. Her husband's name was Earl, and Greek's name was Earl West. And his wife was working. And every time she'd holler Earl, they'd both holler out the name. Yes, and she said, "That's Earl. That's my husband. You're Greek." And that's how he got his name.
Talking about what you eating out, you know, that was unheard of in a sense, except that trip to the Spot. But when I got to go to college, you know, I'd borrowed money and sold my old car and went to UT, and my roommate was from City High in Chattanooga, and his daddy was an executive, sold steel or something. Of course, we didn't have a car, so I always got a ride with them. And he stopped at Dixie Lee Junction, and ordered a steak. You know, I didn't know what cut in. Never ate a steak in my life, so I ordered a hamburger steak. And then first they said, well, what kind of salad? I never had a tossed salad. You know what I mean? I never ate in a restaurant like that. And here I'm going to college, so I said, just a plain salad. So then they came, well, what kind of dressing was about it? So I ate my salad without a dressing and ate a hamburger
That's
steak.
the way it was, wasn't
Yeah,
it? That's
I
the
mean,
way
you
it
know,
was.
but I didn't know any better. Again, it just goes back to everybody was that category.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember when I was 10 years old, and, you know, I had all 5 older brothers, and I guess 3 or 4 of them were still at home then. And I remember distinctly my dad taking us to Chattanooga to the Crystal.
Oh, that's
And
big.
we
Wow,
stood
what
in
a
line.
treat.
We stood in line on Market Street. I believe it was Market Street or Broad, wherever it was. I think it was Market Street.
Walnut Street, yeah.
Okay. We stood in line and waited our turn to get in there, and of course we ate. Back then, those things were 10 cents a piece, and I remember that just very vividly.
Do you remember people down in the south end of town would load people up in a pickup truck, charge you a quarter apiece to go to Lake Winnepesaukah? Well, the old electrician, Scott Hunsucker, used to do that a couple of times a summer. And you'd get in the back of the truck and ride down there.
I remember the first time I ate out was over at Templeton Hill when Mr. Pig was cooking. That's the first time I ate out. But he was
Mr. Pig, pretty good food now, wasn't it?
Absolutely, he did. I remember the deal he was talking about. They would load up a pickup truck load of people. They'd go around and boys that went, people who went to Templeton Hill School are elder, you know, the older guys. We were younger, but they'd get 4, 5, 6 people in that old pickup truck and go down to the liquor store and buy half a pint of apricot brandy and that quarter apiece. They'd load up and do it probably once or twice a week, you know.
Yeah, well, they are.
There was a couple of guys in the community that really helped us along in the summer to something to do. I think his first name was Luther Connor. It's Tommy Connor and Bill Connor's dad. He would come get us, and we would go down to Fred Clayton's farm and play baseball on Sunday afternoon. And then also D.A. Ingram, which they named Ingram Field after, up here at the Little League Park. He would gather a bunch of us up and take us to ball games. I remember one time him and Charles McGowan went all the way up to what state tournament basketball in 1956 or 55 championship games. We drove back and forth to Nashville for 2 or 3 days to see games.
Yeah, D.A. Ingram lived straight across the street in front of where we lived on South Ocoee for a long time, and he owned the Yellow Cab.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a lot of good for Cleveland. D.A. Ingram was a good guy.
Now, I think Jerry, maybe you or Boog told me that you had a cow that you took up to the hill and staked out every day.
Yeah, Boog needs to tell that story. But my grandfather, Boog's dad, owned that cow, but that wasn't unique. There were a lot of people down there that had cows, and they just take
Did
them
you
up
milk
on the
this
cemetery.
cow?
Let me let Boog tell you that.
All right.
Oh yes, sir. We milked that cow, and it would rotate between our brothers to which one led it across Cemetery Hill, Smith Drive. It was a dirt road then. We'd take it over and tie it out by Mouse Creek where it could get water. I mean, the people didn't care. They just, it was over there. And Jackie Hooper lived just across Mouse Creek there. But one of us boys would every day, it was our day to take it over there, milk it in the morning, and feed it, and then take it over there.
Let it graze all day,
Let
right?
it graze all day and go get it and bring it back and milk it and put it in the little shed there at night. But that went on for years and years.
And
yeah, and one time when I was the baby, my oldest brother Jim was babysitting all the other 6 of us while my mom and dad had gone to church at the old South Cleveland Church of God where the bakery is down there now, down on Church Street actually. And I only lived in 2 houses there on South Ocoee all my life until I left home. This one happened to be on the cemetery side of Ocoee Street, but anyway, we had that cow, And somehow that cow got out of that shed and got up on our back porch. And Jim and my oldest brother got us all together, got our clothes on, said, we got to get out of here. Somebody's trying to come in here and get us. They're breaking in the house. And so he got us all together, and we go then to South Cleveland Church with all of our little snotty noses and everything. And Dad, what in the world? And he comes up there and finds that cow on the back porch. But it was fun growing up. It was fun growing up.
Now, did you ever all your families grow some kind of little garden or something?
Oh yeah,
or a big garden.
Almost everybody had it.
Well, you didn't have no choice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, and I think that's the interesting thing that people don't realize today is because you go to Walmart and anything you want's there, but in those days they weren't Walmarts. Even if they was Walmart, you didn't have the extra dimes and nickels to go buy it, even though, it sounds like it was cheap. If you didn't have a nickel's a lot of money then, wasn't it?
I was on the way in here and I was listening to talk about some of the families that had more than others, but I remember in Templeton Hill School it cost a nickel to go see a movie. I never did get to go. I didn't have a nickel. My mom and dad didn't have a nickel to give me. And my brother Roy got to go because he ran the projector.
All right.
Yeah, I had a grandmother that kind of looked after us because my mom worked, and I to this day I tell people, you'd always go to her for a nickel or a dime, go over to Painter's Grocery to get you a Coke or whatever, and she'd pull out this old tobacco sack she kept tied around her neck and get some change out, and I believe she had more than Fort Knox in that sack.
Well, it seemed like that.
There was never any lack of money in that tobacco sack.
I remember my great-grandfather, Luke Brown. You remember Daddy Brown. We all called him Daddy Brown because our father was in the military. But he had bought a pig down at the old stockyard. And we had built a little hog pen out there next to the outhouse. And the odor was, I can still remember the odor. But anyway, and when it come killing time, it's early weather break, September, whatever it was, he had killed that hog and cut it up and put it in a coffer or a box and salted it down and whatever they did to it at that time. We just come home from school that day. But anyway, he packed it in and salted it down, and the next morning somebody come by and stole it. He had raised that hog to hold, and it was that kind of world. There was nothing, there was no money. It was poor.
You didn't used to lock your doors even back in those days, did you?
Well, there wasn't nothing to steal. Why would you lock it?
Yeah.
I sold my first house after living there for 6 years. Back then it was on Waterloo Highway. But at the closing, they said, "Where's the key?" I said, "We never had a key because I never had one at where I grew up at, and never thought about getting a lock."
Well, I grew up with skeleton keys.
Yeah.
But I don't know where one ever was because the door was never locked. And
kids today have missed out, and it will never come back, of course, but the Depression caused a lot of economic distress for the whole country, and it fell off. A lot of them started to school 8-10 years after the Depression, and and times is hard. But the camaraderie, the friends you made then, and in high school, I've been to 4 colleges, and I haven't college. You know what I mean? It's the old high schools and elementary friends you made. They're your friends the rest of your life.
Hey,
our enemies. A few enemies in there.
Hey, folks, you're listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9. We're sponsored by Companion Funeral and Cremation Service, 2417 Georgetown Road, Northwest. Call them at 473-0620. Go out and pre-plan your funeral. That is really a good way to go. Good way to go.
You got to go.
I didn't mean that way to go. It's a good way to arrange your funerals. That way, upon your death, the family don't have to worry about it anymore. And it's call them over there at 473-2620. And we're doing Templeton Hill School today. Got Dennis Stafford, Don Guerin, Boog Sherlin, and Jerry Fraser in here. And next week, real quick, Don Ledford from Polk County, who used to be the extension agent over there for 30 years, ran the Ramp Tramp and the fairs. He's going to come in and talk about the Ramp Tramp and the fairs and Polk County farmers and Polk County. and talk about our neighbors. And we also like to invite any other groups. If you're having a class reunion or a church reunion, this is a good place to come in and advertise it and talk about it, because these reunions are just tons of histories and stories that we love to hear. We like to hear the stories about the people, your moms, your dads, what happened, how you grew up. I always asked them when you had what kind of cell phone did you have back then, and my ass, did you have a telephone?
Right.
And we've had people in here didn't have electricity, and definitely went to the outhouse phones. Outhouse phones. That's you carry your cell phone out to the outhouse. That's where you used it at to get your privacy. But outhouses and we encourage you to, if you have shows like that, and if you got a old grandfather or a mother that's 96 years old and can tell stories, you need to get her in here and tell them, because history's going to disappear the day they die, folks. And I wish I had wrote down all the things my mom had told me. I didn't do a good job, and I preach it. I've got some lucky things from my grandfather, a tape recording my cousin made. So we encourage you to do that. And like I say, tell them about the reunion again, time and date.
September 26th from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock at the old Templeton Hill School Ground. You'll be easy to find. We're setting up a tent and going to have chairs. Bring your memorabilia and also bring old photographs. We'll copy them for you for other people to have and to share. You'll meet a lot of old friends, and as I said, those, no matter if you only attended there 1 year or so. I have a good friend that's a very successful businessman in Chattanooga, and he went there in the 4th grade. But we were talking about that at a meeting one time, and I said, and he said, I definitely want to be there because he wants to meet the same old people.
Yeah. Well, Templeton, my dad and uncles and aunt all attended Templeton Hill School. Right. So, that's a note.
I want to say thank you. When we were talking about following people on bicycles and stuff a while ago, well, I never had a bicycle that I paid for ever in my life. And down on South Ocoee Street, there was a family, and these guys all know the Wilhoits.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
He had a little bike shop built back in the bank there, down a little farther down on South Ocoee. And he gave me a bicycle frame one day. He wasn't a money guy. He didn't. He'd work on our bikes and never charge us anything once we got them together. But I picked up a couple of wheels here and there and a chain from somebody that came off about every 100 yards. But that was the bicycle I rode, and it was a direct result of Mr. Wilhoit, whose children all went to Templeton Hill.
Now, did all of you have phones in your home all the time?
Yeah, right. Tin can with a string hooked to it. That's what it was.
Yeah, once we got older, we did. But
yeah.
Did he live across the street there from Ross Epperson?
Yes.
Mr. Will. Yeah, okay.
Ross. Now, what about when did you get a television in your house?
Well, I remember going
after I got married. When I got one,
yeah, I was in high school before we had a television.
James Meeks was my uncle who lived there on Euclid Avenue. Now, right there, right in the middle of the place, and he worked at the Maples Chair Factory, and so did a lot of people. Enamel Plant or Maple Chair Factory, and he bought a black and white television. It's probably as big as that little case right there, maybe a little bigger than that. But he loved to watch Friday night fights or whatever the fights were. And I was out. We were all playing out where we played, and we heard he had a TV. He had a TV. The first guy in the Sprouts up. Remember the Sprouts right up the street? They had a TV.
That was where we used to go on Sunday night. You'd be lucky to get a seat on their front porch.
You would
to
have
look through the window into the TV.
Their room wasn't probably maybe from here to here, right there, just that much in the front room, and the porch was out there with a swing on it. And everybody in town on that end of that street would be there, and you'd almost get in a fight to see who would get to this seat, because you'd have to peek through the window, and you'd watch what was it, Ed Sullivan? Was it Ed Sullivan or Lawrence Welk or some deal like that?
I remember when Papa Sherlin got his TV, he had an antenna that was so high the guy wires went into the neighbor's yard to hold it up there to get channel 12 was the only channel.
Yeah.
And I remember on Friday night when the Gillette Cavalcade of
Yeah.
Sports
Yeah.
was on the air, you couldn't get in that living room. There'd be 30 people in there.
Everybody's fighting for a spot, wasn't it? Yeah, that was fun days though.
Now you just flip out your cell phone. You can carry it around on your cell phone or anywhere.
Again, I feel like that kids are missing out so much and so much friendship from other people. Every afternoon you went down to the Templeton Hill schoolyard. There's always games going on. You either playing baseball or basketball or marbles, whatever.
Yeah, we when we had that big antenna, Atlanta. Really, before Jerry was talking about it, Atlanta was the only stations you could get, and they were so blurry. And then Channel 12 came on, and I remember the day Luther
came on,
said "Good morning, Chattanooga."
Yeah,
and it was just so clear, and so it wasn't really clear, but it looked so clear to
in
us.
comparison.
But, yeah.
Did you ever have to turn the antenna?
Oh, every day.
Oh, I mean, the kids don't know that. To stand out there and your dad yell at you, turn it, and I'd sometimes would just stand there and not do anything. And so turn it some more. No, that's it.
Somebody hauled a complete load of people from Cleveland down to the old Tower Restaurant in Chattanooga that goes toward the airport, if you remember that. It had a huge antenna, and we couldn't go in the restaurant, but we looked in the window to see our first televisions.
Yeah, I remember on South Ocoee Street, the first guy to get a TV was Arthel Roberts, Gary Kimsey's stepdad. Gary Kimsey is somebody I'm going to contact about this reunion. And we went there, and I don't know if any of these guys were that, but we watched the first football game that was ever televised in the South, Tennessee and Alabama, in 1956. Nothing to nothing.
What a score.
First televised football game in the South.
That's well, and just this is why these shows are important, that we talk about these things, and so people will realize where we come from. And something else, you talk about playing sports. My dad was a musician, and they sat on the front porch over on Oak Street and played music all the time, and everybody could pick music, would come up there on Oak, and then when he wasn't playing music, he was down there practicing with the Negro Baseball League. He went down there and played with those guys every day. That's how he learned how to play baseball with them. Let me get this call here. Yeah. Good morning, you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron.
Good morning.
Let me throw this out, see what people say about it. I remember going uptown and checking in the stores just to get in our air conditioning.
Pat, you still do that.
Yeah. Most people in the 50s never had air conditioning. But occasionally you'd run into stores that would be air conditioned.
I remember having them fans in those fly strips.
Lay's, Woolworths, and those places never had air. I remember. The theaters never had air, did they?
Oh, I don't remember.
I don't remember them having air.
Had big fans.
Yeah, great big fans. And,
I worked at the Princess Theater as a kid in high school. I think I called in that day you was talking about the theater.
Yeah.
Worked 56 hours a week and got $12. Then they took out Social Security out of that.
A lot of money back then.
A couple of people, as far as this reunion, I do want to mention Dot Osborne was probably, I mentioned about his brother, was probably the best male athlete. Dot was probably the best female athlete to ever come out of Cleveland, period.
She could sling a softball.
That was Dad's next door neighbor up there.
Yes.
Dot, yeah.
Yeah, Dot. And she went on, played for the Lady Aces, played on the national teams.
Played for the world champion.
And her son's still here in town, Steve Elliott. Pat, you got anything else?
I got a connection to Templeton Hill School. I was going to Arnold and failing, and they told me I needed to go to summer school, and it was to be held at Templeton Hill. So I reported to Templeton Hill, on the assigned day. They never called my name, and I got out of there. So I got about a 2-hour connection to Templeton Hill.
Well, if you couldn't pass at
Who was
Arnold, they
this?
know we could pass at Templeton Hill.
Pat Guerin.
Who?
Pat Guerin's his name.
Oh, I'm not a relative.
he's
I've got to follow that up with this story, though. For some reason, I think I was cheating on an English test or something in the 8th grade, and for me to go on to high school, they put me in summer school for 6 weeks. And Woodrow Wilson was in charge of it.
Woodrow Wilson.
And I was playing on a baseball team that we always had our game at 9 o'clock. So I went to Woodrow and had him change the summer schedule to get to where I could make my baseball games, on Saturday. And then later years, I was talking to him at a dinner meeting one night, and I was laughing and telling him about what I had did to him was talk him into changing the whole schedule where I could, go play my baseball. I told him I was working at a grocery store and I couldn't miss out what my tale was.
Hey, Pat, thanks for calling.
Oh, I appreciate it.
If you reflect back a little bit, Ronnie, there was probably really some really good times about those old days. But being poor is not good. It was. I wouldn't want to do it. Would you do it again? There ain't no way in hell I'd do it. There's no way I'd
Did you
even
know
try
you
it.
were poor?
No.
Yes.
Yes. Do you do your?
Not until I went to high school.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Right.
I knew when I got to high school, and the first day we got off the bus and we were looking around at Bradley and somehow walked around and looked in the parking lot. I said, "Who's driving these cars? All these guys." So guess who I made friends with?
People owned the cars. Or wait a minute. The girls and then the guys with the cars.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember going over to Reverend Littlefield's place when I was a youngster, and I didn't. For somebody told me about it, and I didn't recall. But it was like, you know what you need to do? You need to go over here to this da-da-da-da-da, and so you can get free stuff over there. People give it away. Give it away. Go ahead. I'll wait.
Well, my friend John Cook raised with 8 kids, sort of like that. And after he went to work at the Sheriff's Department, he made every Christmas he could find as many kids as he could to get toys and clothes to. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning. This is Sylvia Coates, and I hate to interrupt.
Oh, yeah.
I love you, Sylvia.
But I love all those guys on your program this morning, so I wanted to say hello, and that I also remember Templeton Hill School, even though I went to Mayfield.
Yeah.
I think Doc Davis and Bert Roulette both went there to school.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. That was some of the really good athletes. Did William Centers go there too?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, so that was 3 great athletes out of my class. When I went to Mayfield, I remember playing Templeton Hill because that was the first game my mother got to come and see me play. I was like a little skinny spider up there on the floor, and 2 big players that played for them fell on me, and my mother thought it killed me, and she was going to make me quit basketball, but somehow I prevailed. So I have some strong memories of Templeton Hill School.
Well, it turned out to be one of the greatest careers of any Bradley Barrett ever.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Sylvia, we all remember you and how well you were, and just the only thing I would say about that would be derogatory on your behalf would be probably Ed Coates. I'd be that. Only mistake you've ever made.
I was going to say she married a Yankee. I was going to say a damn Yankee, but it's the same thing.
Close enough. Close enough.
There's times he's both of those. You all have a great day.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you for your wonderful story.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ron, let me mention, Sylvia mentioned Paris Roulette and who else?
Davis.
Doc. But Templeton Hill, Bachman Home brought a busload of kids to Templeton Hill. I don't know. I don't think we were exclusive Bachman Home. I think some maybe went to Black Fox or somewhere. But tremendous group of people went to Templeton Hill that were residents of Bachman Home at the time, and then went on to Bradley, and many of them were stellar athletes.
And you remember the Bachman people. I remember them as a youngster like that, and they were wealthier than we. They had a better deal than we had. Some of us, I tell you, it's amazing. Doesn't any bug? I mean, it was not that that's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying
they definitely had better clothes,
better clothing, and better sleeping quarters, and had bathrooms inside. we were kind of being
it's a different mentality. I know my grandmother, even as before her death, she grew green beans every year, and she canned them. She didn't eat them. They were stayed in my basement for years and years, in case that depression ever come back again. They'd have something to eat. She didn't care how old they were or what it was. We'd have something to eat. Now, so that's just a different mentality that none of us, thank God, has ever had to live through.
Well, one of the things that I thought of when you was talking about things happening, or him getting the food and so forth, and all, was every year the South Cleveland Methodist Church put on a Christmas play and gave a bag of goodies and fruit.
Yep.
And everybody in that entire community would show up. I mean, whether you went to church or not, that's one of the events of that area.
There was nothing like a fresh walnut or pecan opening those things up, are they?
Well, that's what we used to get for Christmas. We'd hang our stocking up, and we got fruit and nuts and bubble gum and stuff.
Big red apple. I remember the basket fund. What is it? It's
William Rogers.
They brought stuff to our house, and I remember the big red apple, and there was fruit and those English walnuts and stuff like that, and little pieces of candy. But the fight was on to get that apple. I'm telling you, it was on, buddy, wasn't it? I mean,
you're right.
If you were at the door, you got that apple and headed out.
Let me tell you a funny story about my brother Roy, who was in the class with Don, I think.
No, he was a year ahead of me.
He was a year ahead. Okay. Well, he would have been in the 8th grade. That's right. He was in the 8th grade, and I was in the 1st grade. Well, back then, playing marbles was the big thing. And there were no paved sidewalks down South Ocoee Street, and there were cleaned out places where we won about every block, where we'd stop and play marbles with whoever wanted to play. Well, there was a guy named Red Wells. He was in the same grade with Roy. He was an 8th grader, and he came up there, and right across the street from Mr. Hanna's store, in front of George Link's house.
Yeah.
Lord George and Clyde Link. And wanted to know if I wanted to play marbles. And yeah, I played, and I had my little sack of marbles. And so it wasn't 10 minutes till he had them all.
Play for keeps.
Oh, yeah.
And just as luck would have it, Roy came walking along just as we were getting through, and I was crying because I'd lost all my marbles. What are you crying for? I said, well, Red won all my marbles. And Roy said, Red, give him his marbles back. You're too old to be playing him. Give him his marbles back. I'm not giving him his marbles back. I won them fair and square. And Roy said, yeah, you're going to give them back. And Don remembers Roy like everybody else. As an 8th grader, he was stocky and strong as a bull. And Red was a good-sized kid, too. And so Roy proceeded to go after Red. So they had a fight, and it wound up, they rolled down the bank on whatever street that is, going by side where Robert Hanna used to have a store.
That's 9th Street.
Is that 9th Street?
No. Yeah.
They were down in the ditch on 9th Street, and Roy had him down in that ditch, and Red was able to feel a rock in the bank, and I'm standing up on top of the bank watching, and he got that rock and hit Roy in the side of the head with that rock, and it was like you had knocked down a hornet's nest. Roy proceeded to tear him up, and I mean tore him up, and I had all his marbles. I went home with the biggest bag of marbles. And that's the advantage of having big brothers who go to school.
You notice Boog wasn't jumping down there helping, though.
That's right.
The two guys he's talking about there was Ronald and a couple other guys. Yeah. They had a football team that was untouchable in the whole city. I mean, Ron should be here to tell you. But they were. That was
one.
I
can tell you, they had a football team. What happened? That they would play touch football in the 5 city schools, and the team that won, the All-Stars from the other 4, would play them in a tackle game at Bradley. They'd go use Bradley's equipment and play a tackle football, the city league champion against the All-Stars. And Roy, they would hand the ball to Roy, and they'd run. He actually would run 30 or 40 yards across the field trying to find somebody to run over.
Yeah, I mean, he was a bull. I mean, I guarantee you.
And the same thing happened to him that happened to my brother Jay. Coach Smith, who was the coach then at Bradley,
Billy Frank,
came down to my house to tell my dad, and I saw him. My dad cried again and said he's got to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them would have been unbelievable athletes at that sport. My brother Jay was not a good athlete. He was a phenomenal.
Yeah.
He could dunk a ball in the 8th grade. He wasn't as tall as me. He could out-jump me. And later on, he went to the Navy and came back. And in my career playing basketball, of course, I was fortunate. I got to go to Bradley, and I got to play, and I got to go to Lee, and I got to play. But every game I ever played, it wouldn't matter where it was, I could look around, and there sat my brother.
He's a very pleasant guy, too.
Because
Jay
he was playing through me.
Really liked him.
That's something I got
I've
to
touched
do.
the rim one time. I was younger and lighter, and I got up there and touched it one time, then I quit. I just never play. Alvin Scott and Dennis Botts and Eddie Callahan was on the team. I didn't play. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hello, Ron.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. How's Debbie?
She's doing great. She's sitting over here watching all these guys talk.
Is that Ella?
Oh, okay. Well, I really enjoyed this because I played Marvel too. So I know what they mean when they're talking about all this stuff. So I'll talk with you later and have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Who was that, Ron? Who was that?
Don't know.
Oh.
I know what song she likes right here, if I can find it.
No.
I play the same song for her every week. Folks, you're listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, sponsored by Companion Funeral and Cremation Services, 2417 Georgetown Road, Northwest. Call them at 473-2620. Tell them you heard it here on Old Town Cleveland. We're talking to Dennis Stafford, Don Garrett, Boog Shirley, and Jerry Frazier, and we're talking about Tipton Hill School, growing up over there down that South Ocoee area. And so tell us about when the reunion is again and what you need.
September the 26th, going to be from 11 till 2 at the old school grounds, which is now where the main fire hall is in Cleveland. Only we're going to be over on the back side of what was the gym and the cafeteria. That's the only remaining building. Bring your memorabilia, bring your old pictures, because we want to make copies.
Please do that. Start looking now, and make sure you guys call ever so often here and remind us that's coming up. We welcome people to call in and say that you got a reunion going. And we got another call there, Deb. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, is that Don Guerin down there?
That is?
In person.
I work for him.
You poor baby.
Me and George Fox and Raymond.
Oh, okay. Hey, Raymond, how you doing?
No, I ain't Raymond. This is JJ.
Who?
WJ.
Oh, okay. WJ, yeah. We lost a good one a few weeks ago when George Fox passed on.
Boy, we did.
He was the best woodworker I've ever had. I owned a cabinet shop then, if you remember that, WJ.
I know. I worked for you out there a few years.
Wow.
But old George, he was a character. I worked with him for 20 years. But he was a good fella.
Yep. Well, I'm not going to ask you how good a boss I was. I know this. I didn't make any money with the cabinet business.
Yeah. I want to tell you something. You remember when you built them apartments out there?
Yeah.
All right. My brother-in-law went to work out there, and he was painting up there when you just had that new concrete poured on the back.
Uh-huh.
Lay. And old Mike said, you want to see Don run down to the building? And we just looked at him. He reached over, you just told him not to spill no paint on that new concrete. He reached over and kicked that can over. you took off running to that office.
Oh, good. Good talking to you, WJ.
All right. See you later, man.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks for listening. I love our callers. Aren't they wonderful? So you guys, whose idea was it to start this reunion up? You just started talking to some folks, and
I had it about 3 years ago when I was much younger and better health and had another heart operation, so it sort of died. And I thought, I'm going to do it this time, and I hope I'm still holding in. 2 days ago, I wouldn't have give you 10 cents. I could even have been here. My BP was so unbelievable. I was calling hospitals and doctors, and they all settled me down a little bit, but changed my medicine and all. But yeah, I'm hoping because
it's really important. A lot of people think about it, but you rarely find that person that will really jump on board.
Well, Ron, I got to give him credit too. We have this 100-name list because he and I, mostly him, have sat down and gone through from our memories, as Dennis said, street to street, who grew up there and so forth. And I went ahead and got the list printed down and then divided into 5 people. So each person has a fifth of this list, and that's going to be, we meet Wednesday, and after that meeting we'll be calling all of those 100 people. But I don't want to give my cell phone on the air, but get in touch with Ron Rogers. He's in the book.
Okay, Ron Rogers is in the book.
Let me interstate that I am online, and if anyone has the capability of using the internet, you can internet or send me an email at capital DENDASA@AOL.com, and I'll forward all these messages on to the organizers, and we'll help do it all at one time.
Well,
in the internet, wonderful when you're trying to get together.
I am DM Guerin
Okay.
at gmail.com. About as simple as you could have.
Yeah, about as simple as you get. Ron, you were supposed to make an announcement for Odell.
Yeah, if you're a 9 or 10-year-old and want to play baseball down at Blue Springs, Dale and Odell Swafford are going to coach a team down there. Now, Odell Swafford knows a little bit about baseball, just a little bit.
A little, yes,
Yeah.
a smidge.
Yeah, if you can put up with him, though. I mean,
Hey, Odell, call Dennis.
Odell, so make sure you do that if you're interested in playing ball down at Blue Springs. It's 9 and 10 years old. I think I got that right. 6 to 8 tonight. They're having sign-ups down at Blue Springs Field, the old, not school, but the old Blue Springs Field at the old Blue Springs School. So, folks, it's about time. You got any final thing you want to say, Dennis?
I just want to say that I'm very, very, very disappointed in Suds Barrett Nutshell. What a scaredy cat. What a wuss. Golly day. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, boy.
I did not put him up to that, Suds, but I appreciate it.
Tell us what you really think, Dennis.
I think you should be ashamed of yourself, boy.
Oh, he had a graduation.
Tell your lovely wife I said hello, Suds.
Yeah. What about you?
Again, September 26th. 11 to 2 at the old school grounds. Plenty of parking. That's a Saturday. You can't use football as an excuse that day. Tennessee's playing Florida, but it won't even start till later on in the day. So, and it's out of town too. It's out.
So then you can get Jerry there then. So Jerry can be there.
Yeah, I hope he shows. And please bring this stuff because we want to try to put together some kind of packet maybe, and of all these photographs and so forth, and maybe the museum will put us a little section aside,
Yeah, and if you went to Templeton Hill anytime, we'd love to see you there, but especially all you guys who went with Boog Sherlin from 47 to 55, I'd love to see you.
All you girls want to see Dennis Stafford. You come down there as well. Go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, thanks, guys. I just appreciate being a part of it. Had some great years.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, we got one more call coming in here. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, could you give me the email address again?
DM Guerin, DMGERN, at gmail.com.
GREEN?
No, just GEREN, DMGEREN, at gmail.com.
Okay, I have some friends from my year leaving Templeton Hill, and every time we have a class reunion, they say, we need to have a Templeton Hill reunion.
Well, you got to happen.
So I'm going to send this email to some of my friends out of town.
It's on, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've had several schools do that, though. Trevina, they come in and done that and had great success.
Allen did one.
Yeah, Allen, and I'm glad you do this. And share us the pictures with us, and Old Town Cleveland will post it on their Facebook pages. And we post old pictures on there constantly of just anything we can find about Cleveland, Tennessee, or the surrounding area. We do that. Next week is Mr. Don Ledford, who used to be the extension agent over in Polk County, ran the fair, ran the Ramp Tramp. Going to talk about farmers and things that happen in Polk County next week. And we have some, we're coming up, Ed Elkins coming back, and we're going to talk about old schools all over Bradley County, Maroon School and Flat Rock and, Wooden, Maroon.
You're going to do one on Reform School, I'm in.
Okay, we'll do that. And we tell people every week to make sure that you get those old pictures out of anything. Your family, stores, buildings, whatever you want to do, make sure you do that. And you got to save history. Record your moms, your dads, your aunts, your uncles. Get your cell phone out, get your tape recorder, and do that. You'll really enjoy that later on in life. And we always say, and I always want to thank Companion Funeral Home and Cremation Services, our new sponsor here, 2417 Georgetown Road Northwest, 473-2620. Make sure you give them a call. Tell Shelley you heard it here on Old Town Cleveland. And as always, we like to say, everybody will remember Pearl Harbor, but
will they remember Aunt Pearl? See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in the shopping mall. Ooh, where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old or just me? Did all my friends get old or just me? Are they all gonna have to be told or just me?
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash.
Turn your car into cash at Check Into Cash.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500.
At Check Into Cash, you get the most for your car, and we make it quick, easy, and confidential.
Stop in for an auto title loan today or a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH.
Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
If you're looking for a home, apartment, or office space, Jones Property